The day was already bright when the past reached out and grabbed my wrist, stopping me mid-step as if the sun itself wanted me to turn around and face what I had been running from for years. I had only planned to pass by, just a glance, just proof that I could do it without my chest tightening or my hands trembling. The street looked ordinary in the daylight, calm and harmless, yet my heart beat as if I was standing on the edge of something that could change everything. I told myself it was nothing, that I was only there to say hello and leave, but some moments are never meant to be that simple, and some doors open not with force but with memory. Before the story unfolds any further, take a second to breathe with me. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the quiet power of staying when it would be easier to leave, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel Kindness Touch. Your support keeps stories like this alive. My name is Arav Mehta, and on that sunlit morning, I was a man carefully stitched together by routine. I worked days at a modest design firm, walked the same route home, ate the same meals, and slept with the light on because silence made my thoughts too loud. Years earlier, my life had cracked open in ways I never learned to explain out loud. I had lost my mother after a long illness, then lost my sense of direction soon after. Dreams I once carried with pride slowly slipped away, replaced by responsibility, guilt, and the quiet belief that I did not deserve anything more than survival. I had become good at disappearing, even from myself, and very good at leaving before anyone could ask me to stay. The house I stood in front of that day belonged to someone I had not seen since those difficult years. Naira Kulkarni had been part of my life when everything felt possible and unbearably fragile at the same time. She lived in a simple place with a small front garden that caught the sunlight perfectly, flowers leaning toward the day as if grateful for warmth. I remembered helping her plant them one afternoon long ago, both of us laughing at our clumsy hands and dirty clothes. That memory was dangerous because it carried warmth, and warmth had a way of melting the walls I had spent years building. I told myself again that I would only greet her, nothing more. I knocked with the gentlest pressure, already planning my exit. When the door opened, the daylight framed her face, older but softer, marked by life yet peaceful in a way I had never mastered. Time did not rush between us, it settled. The world did not pause, but my racing thoughts did. She looked at me with surprise that slowly turned into recognition, and something unspoken passed between us, something heavy and forgiving. Without using words, she invited me inside, and before I could argue with myself, my feet crossed the threshold. Inside, the house was filled with sunlight and the smell of fresh tea leaves, the kind of ordinary comfort that makes loneliness feel exposed. Everything seemed alive in the daytime glow, the dust dancing, the curtains breathing with the breeze. I stood awkwardly, unsure where to place my hands or my past. I'd rehearsed a brief visit, but nothing prepares you for the weight of being remembered by someone who once saw you clearly. She gestured for me to sit, and time, which had chased me for years, suddenly slowed enough for me to feel every second. We did not speak in the way movies portray reunions. There were no dramatic speeches, only shared silence that felt honest. I noticed the lines near her eyes, signs of smiles and worry, and wondered how many days she had carried on without me while I had been hiding. The longer I stayed, the more I realized how exhausted I had been from always leaving first. My struggles surfaced quietly, memories of working late nights to numb grief, of pushing away friends who wanted to help, of convincing myself. That independence meant isolation. Sitting there, surrounded by daylight, I felt the fragile beginning of something shifting. Naira moved through the room with ease, offering simple kindness through small actions. She brought water, adjusted the curtain to soften the glare, and in those gestures was a message I had forgotten how to receive. She did not ask why I disappeared, and that absence of pressure was a relief I had not known I needed. The challenge I faced in that moment was not her presence, but my own resistance to it. Staying meant admitting that I had been wrong about needing to be alone. Staying meant accepting that I could still belong somewhere without earning it through suffering. As minutes turned into an hour, the outside world faded. Sunlight climbed higher, painting the room in gold, and with it came stories shared through expressions, through pauses, through understanding glances that said more than words ever could. I thought of all the times I had told myself that life had already decided my limits. Yet here I was, invited to remain, to exist without explanation. The fear that had once driven me away began to loosen its grip. I felt something rare growing inside me, not excitement or relief, but trust. The real struggle arrived quietly when I realized I wanted to stay longer. That desire scared me more than loneliness ever had. Wanting meant risking disappointment, risking loss all over again. I looked around the room and saw proof that life continued even after pain. Naira's home was not perfect, but it was lived in, filled with patience and care. It reminded me that broken things can still be useful, that hearts can carry cracks and still hold light. In the brightness of the day, I saw my own reflection differently, not as someone defined by absence, but as someone capable of presence. The afternoon stretched on, and with it came an unexpected sense of peace. I helped with small chores, ordinary tasks that felt meaningful simply because they were shared. There was no grand resolution, no promise made, but something deeper formed, a quiet agreement that this moment mattered. I realized how many chances I had ignored because they did not announce themselves loudly enough. This one arrived gently, disguised as a simple invitation to remain a little longer, and I nearly missed it. Eventually, the time came when I would have to leave, but the urgency was gone. Standing at the door again, I felt lighter. Not because my problems were solved, but because they no longer felt like a solitary burden. The sunlight outside seemed warmer than before, and the street less threatening. I understood then that sometimes healing does not come from moving on, but from stopping long enough to be seen. If this story is touching something inside you right now, if it reminds you of a moment you almost walked away from, please take a second to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to Kindness Touch. Your engagement helps spread stories that remind us we are not alone. Before the ending, I have a special request. Please comment below and share what staying a little longer has meant in your own life, or what moment you wish you had not rushed past. As I walked away that day, the sun high and steady in the sky, I knew I had not just visited an old friend. I had returned to a version of myself that still believed in connection, in patience, and in the courage it takes to stay. Sometimes all it takes is daylight, an open door, and someone kind enough to invite you to remain, to change the direction of a life that thought it was already set.